Let me tell you about a phone call that every experienced HVAC technician dreads. Hey, I found a great deal online. I bought a unit. Can you come install it for me? A guy named Marcus has been running his own HVAC shop in Phoenix for 26 years. He told me he gets this call at least twice a week. And his answer is always the same. No. Not because he doesn't want the work. Not because he's lazy. Because he knows that certain brands will destroy his reputation. When Marcus installs a system, he guarantees his work. If that unit fails in 3 months because of a manufacturing defect, he's the one driving back to your house. He's the one explaining to you why your brand new air conditioner is already dead. He's the one eating the cost of the callback. So Marcus made a list. Brands he will never install. Brands that have burned him so many times that he'd rather lose the job than touch them. Today I'm going to share that list with you. We talked to 23 independent HVAC technicians across the country. We asked them one question. Which brands do you refuse to install and why? The same names kept coming up, over and over. From Phoenix to Philadelphia. This is the HVAC Blacklist. Number 1. York. York is owned by Johnson Controls, a massive corporation. On paper, it should be a solid brand. In reality, technicians call their microchannel condensers the fountains. Microchannel technology uses thin aluminum tubes instead of traditional copper. It is lighter and cheaper to manufacture, and it is also dramatically more prone to leaks. One technician in Florida told us that in his experience, roughly 1 in 4 York microchannel coils develops a leak within the first 5 years. That is not bad luck. That is a design problem. But it gets worse. York circuit boards are notoriously sensitive to power fluctuations. A minor voltage spike that would not bother a train or a carrier will fry a York control board instantly. Replacement cost is $800 to $1,200 plus labor. And then there is parts availability. Multiple technicians told us the same story. A customer's York system goes down in July. The motor is dead. They call York parts. A 3-week wait in Phoenix in July. One tech put it this way: I do not install York because I do not want to be the guy telling a 70-year-old woman that she has to wait 3 weeks for air conditioning in the middle of summer. Number 2. Goodman Budget Series. Goodman is owned by Ducane, which also makes some excellent equipment. But the budget Goodman line is what technicians call the builder's special. Here's how it works. A home builder needs to put HVAC in 50 houses. He does not care if it lasts 15 years. He just needs it to work long enough to pass inspection and close the sale. Goodman budget units are perfect for that. Cheap, available, and someone else's problem in 3 years. The problem is that these same units end up being sold to regular homeowners who think they are getting a deal. Technicians hate them for 3 reasons. First, the metal is paper thin. The cabinet dents if you look at it wrong. The heat exchangers are the thinnest in the industry. Thin metal means faster corrosion, faster failure, shorter life. Second, the compressors are loud. Not a little loud. Loud enough that neighbors complain. Technicians get calls from angry homeowners who cannot sit on their own patio because the unit sounds like a washing machine full of rocks. Third, and this is the killer, you can buy them online without a license. That means unlicensed handymen and trunk slammers install them. No nitrogen purge, no proper evacuation, no manual J calculation. Just slap it in and cash the check. When the system fails in 2 years, the homeowner calls a real technician. He opens the unit and sees the contamination, the improper brazing, the wrong refrigerant charge. And he has to explain that the equipment is junk and the installation was butchered. One technician called Goodman budget units the official brand of house flippers and regret. Number 3. Lennox Merit Series. We have already talked about Lennox's history with evaporator coil lawsuits, but the Merit Series adds another layer of pain. Lennox designs their components with proprietary dimensions. When a motor fails in a carrier or a train, a technician can usually find a universal replacement at the local supply house, $50 to $80, and be back in business. When a motor fails in a Lennox Merit, you need the exact Lennox motor. It has unique mounting holes, unique shaft dimensions, unique electrical specifications. You cannot substitute. The Lennox motor costs $300 to $400, and you have to order it from Lennox and wait. Wait. Technicians call this the proprietary tax. One technician told us a story. A customer's Lennox Merit blower motor died. A universal replacement would have cost $65 and taken 30 minutes. Because it was a Lennox, the only option was a $380 motor with a 5-day wait. The customer was furious. Not at Lennox, at the technician, because he was the one delivering the bad news. That technician does not touch Lennox Merit anymore. He said life is too short to be the messenger for their engineering decisions. Number 4. Nortek brands. Here is a quiz. What do Maytag, Tappan, Frigidaire, Gibson, and Westinghouse HVAC systems have in common? They are all made by Nortek. Or they were, or maybe they still are. Nobody is entirely sure anymore. Nortek has been bought, sold, merged, and reorganized so many times that tracking their brand names is like archaeology. They put familiar appliance names on HVAC equipment to make it seem trustworthy, but the company behind those names keeps changing. Why does this matter? Because finding parts for a Nortek system that is 7 years old is a nightmare. One technician described spending 4 hours trying to source a control board for a Frigidaire branded system. He called 8 distributors. None of them carried it. He finally found one on eBay from a guy parting out a condemned unit. That is not a repair. That is a scavenger hunt. When technicians talk about Nortek brands, the word that comes up most often is ghosts. The brands are ghosts. The parts are ghosts. The tech support is a ghost. Speaking of tech support, multiple technicians told us about calling Nortek's support line with a diagnostic question. Average hold time, over 2 hours. And when they finally got through, the answer was often, "We are not sure. Try replacing the board and see if that fixes it." One tech summarized it perfectly. If I have to guess at the repair, I am not a technician anymore. I am a gambler, and I am gambling with my customers' money. Number 5. Nest thermostats. This one surprises people because Nest is not an HVAC brand. It is a thermostat. But technicians have learned to hate it. Here is the problem. Traditional thermostats get their power from a dedicated wire called the C wire, short for common. It provides a constant 24 volts to run the thermostat. Many older homes do not have a C wire. Nest's solution was something called power stealing. The thermostat harvests tiny amounts of power through the control wires when the system is off. Sounds clever. In practice, it is a disaster. The power stealing feature causes the thermostat to pulse the system's contactor. Click, click, click. Dozens of times per day, even when the system is not running a cooling cycle. Each click sends a small electrical spike through the control board. Over months and years, those spikes degrade the board. Technicians have seen brand new systems with fried control boards, and the only unusual factor was a Nest thermostat. One technician in Texas told us he now asks every new customer what thermostat they have. If they say Nest, his first recommendation is to replace it with an Ecobee or a Honeywell that uses proper wiring. He said he has seen too many $1,500 control boards killed by a $200 thermostat. The irony is brutal. People buy Nest because they think it is the smart choice, but it might be slowly murdering their dumb equipment. Number 6. Ducane and Concord. These brands are made by Allied Air, which also makes Lennox. Think of Ducane and Concord as Lennox's budget cousins. They share some components and manufacturing, but the quality control is noticeably worse. Technicians report that Ducane and Concord units arrive from the factory with problems at a much higher rate than other brands. Leaks that should have been caught in testing, wiring that is not secured properly, coils that are already damaged in the box. The industry term is DOA, which stands for Dead on Arrival. One technician told us about installing a brand new Ducane system, following every procedure perfectly, and having it fail the nitrogen pressure test. Out of the box, it already had a leak. He had to wait for a replacement coil. The customer blamed him. The manufacturer blamed shipping. Nobody took responsibility. He does not install Ducane anymore. Number 7. Generic inverter systems. This is the newest threat on the blacklist. Inverter technology is excellent. Variable speed compressors adjust their output to match the load, which means higher efficiency, better comfort, and longer equipment life. But inverter systems require sophisticated electronics, and sophisticated electronics require manufacturer support. Here's the scam. Small distributors buy generic inverter systems from overseas factories. They slap their own brand name on them. EcoComfort, Green Air, AmeriCool. Names that sound trustworthy, but do not exist in any meaningful way. They sell these systems cheap, 20 to 30% below name brands. For the first few years, everything seems fine. Then the inverter board fails. The homeowner calls for service. The technician looks at the unit and sees a brand he has never heard of. He calls the number on the unit. It is disconnected. He searches online. The company's website is gone. He looks for parts. Nothing. The system is 3 years old and already an orphan. The only option is complete replacement. Technicians have a saying for these systems: buy cheap, buy twice. One technician put it bluntly: if I cannot walk into Ferguson or Johnstone Supply and buy the part off the shelf, I will not put the unit in someone's yard. Period. So how do you protect yourself? Before you sign any contract, ask the contractor 3 questions. First, can I buy replacement parts for this brand at a local supply house? If the answer is no, or I do not know, walk away. Second, what is the typical wait time for parts from this manufacturer? If it is more than a few days for common components, that is a red flag. Third, have you personally installed this brand before, and would you put it in your own home? Watch their face when they answer. Hesitation tells you everything. And here's the most important rule. If a contractor is willing to install anything you buy, he is not a professional. He is a gambler playing with your money. A real pro has opinions. A real pro has a blacklist. A real pro will tell you no, because he knows that his reputation rides on every system he touches. The brands on this list are not all garbage. Some of them make decent equipment in their higher tiers. But their budget lines, their orphaned parts networks, their pattern of design flaws, they have earned their place on the blacklist. Find a technician who cares more about doing it right than making a quick sale. And if he refuses to install what you bought online, that is not a red flag. That is the best sign you could ask for.